Hello gents, welcome to Sandhurst. This is Chip the dog. He is not speaking, it is me, Mark at Bearhobbies. So welcome to basically man cave, office, call it what you want. I'll show you inside. I'm going to show you now because it's a very good time because things have been cleaned up recently, and what I'm going to do is just explain that this office, really, it was put in here about 7 or 8 years ago, really for a business that I was running, not for the purpose of modelling, but then I did use it for modelling, and I was away overseas for quite a few years, and then I've come back and I used it again for recent model builds. But I've had a sort of reorganisation recently, and I'm going to explain that. You'll see that in the second half of the video, as we'll have a look at that later on. So what I have is a series of display cabinets, which are great for obviously displaying the completed models on this side of the room and on this side. And then I've got storage space down here, and I've also got some shelving. There's a bit more smaller shelving down there, and this is all cupboard storage space here, and a set of shelving again here. So that's the organisation that the office is in. Works out quite well, really more of a place to display models than build. I'm going to explain why later, but let's have a look at these shelves. I'll just go through the shelves top to bottom. We've got a KB1 diorama 148, P47D to my kits. These are, well, one of my favourite main battle tanks, like Leopard 286, and of course the classic Abrams M1A2. And then we come across to my sort of Soviet collection. BMPs, T90, bit of World War II, the T-34-85 as in the recent video, Panzer IV, of course the Tiger 1, and an SDKZ 250. I must have sold, like recently I've sold about 30 or 40 model kits, completed model kits, due to running out of space. And here we have a stalled Marder diorama, some Dragon Jeeps, SAS Jeeps. This is a conversion of the Hobby Boss Land Rover into the R-Wimic. The Leopard Hooligan Basher, if you have a look, I've got a video on that. This was the Sherman display. There's only 2 completed Shermans there, and 1 in progress. I've probably built, over time, I've built maybe about 8 or 9 Shermans. I've sold about 5 or 6 of them, and that's what's left. A couple of 148 scale aircraft, AV-8B, Harrier 2, and an A4 Skyhawk. And there's a little deck tractor there for a diorama that may or may not come about. Quickly go over this shelf over here. I've got a diorama over there. And these are sort of my favourite iconic Soviet tanks, T-55A, the T-69, and a Type 69, sorry, T-62 in the middle there, I don't know what I said that. Bandai Star Wars, one of my favourite genres because these kits are absolutely incredible. And down here, you probably saw that this is my first build on video, the Zvezda JS2. Please check that out if you're a beginner. It's entirely hand painted, and this is quite a recent video build. And here's some works in progress. These are Model Collect 172 scale E75 paper panzers. You can see the boxes over here. And then also we've got the Bandai 148 scale X-Wing moving edition. Just needs a repair job on that one, and then I'll be selling that one shortly. King Tiger, okay, I'm going to get on with that build quite shortly. We're going to move on with that, and you'll get that video coming up. In the middle here we've sort of got a bit of stash, let's just call it stash kits. One of them's actually sold kit. It's a lot of these kits were the stock from the hobby shop, and then some of these are recent ones. These are buys from my recent Japan trip. I got the 109 and I bought the Spitfire at the Shizuoka Tamiya factory because they were unbelievably cheap. And then I did get my Flyhawk M1A2 in 72 scale. These are more model collect kits, a paint set there, T90, that's actually for sale. I've got the transporter bus from Takom, and here we are, the Typhoon 2 from Takom, and that is the 172 scale F14. You can see the review video on that. On the second part of the video I'll show you the rest of the stash, the other kits I have. Down here is camera equipment and lenses that I've just kept out. The last display case that we'll come to. Alright, we've got that's a box diorama inside there. I'll have to get around to showing you that. This is the 132 scale A4M from Trumpetier. Got a little bit damaged in transport, needs a bit of repair work. There's a tornado, you may have seen the video on that. This is the Airfix AH7 Lynx with quite a lot of aftermarket and scratch building. And here's my Opus build, the Het M1070 tank transporter in a diorama setting. Look forward to a video on that in the future. These shelves are sort of empty. That's a die-cast auto art in Pretzer, that one. Trying to sell that at the moment. Down here is really what I've done is I did all my builds here, and I did my painting on this part of the desk here. But what I found is I'm trying to expand the channel, so I'm doing a lot more video editing. So I bought a second monitor, so this space is occupied. So I'm using this area much more as an office to do the sort of computer work and videography. On this area I do some of the builds as well. I can build indoors, I can get some lighting inside here, I can build, but you'll see in the second half of the video I've moved all my painting basically outdoors into a different space for various reasons. These storage cupboards are like mostly empty. All I've kept inside here are oil paints and acrylic paint sets. I keep all my tools and paints inside these drawers or cupboards, really because I don't like having them out. They just get dusty if they're out on display. This is really sort of core tools that I'm using at the moment, and these are Vallejo paints as well. And that is basically everything I have here. These drawers are mostly empty. I've got the paint respirator there, and this is it. So it's quite a nice space to sit in, to work in. And what I found was that this is not really the ideal, even though I did so many builds in here, it isn't the best place for my workflow in terms of modelling. So I'll have a look on the second part of the video at the other part of, well, Bearhobbies. Okay, so let's have a look at the production part of Bearhobbies, or really where I've decided to work from now on. So I've transitioned from indoors to the garage, and really it's down to practicalities and working with paint, etc. It causes a lot of dust, there's a lot of cleanup required, and also some of the paints that I'm using are quite toxic in nature, so I don't want them inside the house. So I've decided to move out here, and what I've got is I've got an old kitchen table rather, that I'm using. I do quite a lot of, I've moved my photography out here and some of the videography out here as well. So I've got a light booth. We're going to cover a lot of photography stuff later on in upcoming video series, because I realise that there's a lot of people that are interested in how to photograph their models, and I do have maybe 9 years experience in publication, so I'd like to do a guide for you, for anybody really who's be interested in that. And I've got this table, which is an old desk, which is actually reversed round. It's just so that it works better, so I can have them side by side. I haven't got this, I haven't got the portion with the drawers blocking access to that side. So I'm doing my airbrushing here and building as well. I've got the stands for holding parts and bits and pieces. I've got my nitrile gloves here, some paper towel. On here I've got some paints, thinners, and some weathering products, and spray cans. Spray cans as well I can use out here, no problem whatsoever. And I did use this area before for airbrushing, but I've moved it out. I did do some airbrushing. I did the Merkava inside here. It's quite a good area to work in. But this is my collection of Mr. Colour paints, and also I've got all my pigments and bits and pieces. This is a box of Tamiya's. Loads and loads of them. I've got my Dremel out here if I want to do anything with resin. I've got my xylene cleaner for cleaning out the airbrushes. There's my old compressor. He served very well. I think he did about 8 years, and now I think the seals are gone on him. So I am using my other tankless compressor. This is all pigments, a pigment box. Using pigments is quite messy, so I want all that out of here. I have kept my oils indoors at the moment because that oil process, I need to be in a sort of zone to do that, and I like to do that with a bit of music on, take my time. So things are laid out here. This is the only space I need to paint and weather. I use a bit of backing paper there to help show up the video better. Okay, a mixture of boxes here. This is what I would call the rest of my stash. Some of my really old kits that I haven't got around to. I've got my last stall, is that EA6B, that's got lots of resin and bits and pieces to go into it. That T55AM will be a future build. I've got the T90 modernised, T14 Armata from Tacom, the huge T72B B1. So this is big kit, like loads and loads of parts. Got all those error blocks on it for the T72. That is a must-do build. I've got Milestone Release 100 Tamiya Storch. I bought that so long ago, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. I've never got around to building it. You know, genre changes, a few more model collects. I've got a resin, a Belarus tractor there. I've got a accurate armour GS Bedford, which is what I drove in the army many years ago. Tier 4J Sky Hawk 148. Kept that from the model shop, the Brennis and the Type 62 tank. I quite like this one. Quite unusual. Looks like people think it's T55. It's actually much smaller. These things are used all over the world. That could be quite an exciting project if we can get a lot of references on it. And what else is there? Oh, some tracks, some model casting tracks. So that's really the extent of the stash, and that's the workspace. So that really sums up everything I have in terms of Bearhobbies. So I really just need to get producing. I suppose we have got, yes, one of my very first videos, I did the build on this, on the Krieg's locomotive, and that does, it got up to this stage, which was, I got the black primer on it, and it just needs painting and weathering, so hopefully we can get around to doing a video on that as well. So hope you enjoy. Any questions on anything, just put them down below in the comment section, and see you in the next video. So guys, epilogue. That video was shot about 2 weeks ago, and I showed you around what this was, Bearhobbies. And sort of sadly, Bearhobbies as it was will no longer be here. I'm relocating overseas, and hobbying is going to be somewhat restricted, to be honest. So this is what we're left with. Everything's gone. Not gone. Everything has moved. Not any kits on the shelves, they've all been packed, and they're on the way to our new home in Russia, yes. And things will continue over there, but there is going to be a bit of a pause and a wait. But I've got this, and it's coming with me on where I'm going to, and I'll fill you in on that later. And I'm going to bring one of these as well. And I've got my travel pack, and I have done this before. In fact, I've done this many times. Gone overseas, and I've just got a kit or two to build. So that fills you in on Bearhobbies, the Sandhurst edition, and let's continue elsewhere. But there will be content, I can guarantee you, still coming. Thanks a lot for all your support, guys.